Okay, so I just wanted to chat, Ron, about this kind of whole idea of Burnley and Burnley dialect, and why some dialects, some words seem to have died out, and others seem to retain, and those words in particular. You know.
Well, I'll tell you what worries me. It's everybody thinks we've got a right funny accent, right? And it's people from Oxford that think they haven't got one. Well, they have. It's just posher than what ours is, that's all. And I don't want regional accents to disappear because that's part of the character. It's part of my character, but it's part of Burnley's character as well. You lose that, you lose everything. So we need the dialect and we need the words. You know, and if I want to call somebody gormless, they wouldn't know what I meant in Oxford. But I know what it was. It was a thundering great big Burnley gas lamp with about 8 heads. And it never moved, and it was as thick as 2 boards, so they called it gormless.
So yeah, I mean that. I think you're right. I think it is really important to keep that kind of heritage. But do you think that's changing as the world changes? The world becomes smaller. Do you think we've got a danger of losing that?
Yeah, that's what we've to fight against. You know, we all sort of use email speak, and whatever you do, everybody has to be alike. Well, I've never been alike with anybody in my life. I'm me, you're you. And everybody in Burnley is different. We've all got same twang, and we haven't to lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. So about then, some words in particular. We've been doing a project around South West Burnley, in particular around Stoops Estate. And we're doing interviews, and people who speak to us have used the word a gate. Which I only know of as it being a word used in Burnley, really, and I've never come across it anywhere else. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I mean, a gate it's an old Scandinavian word that means a road. So it's this road up or whatever. So I were a gate. So I were thinking this road up, and that's all it means. And I love it when somebody from Burnley, perhaps in Cambridge or somewhere, says, "Here, you're a gate," and they're looking for a thundering big 5-bar gate. And I love to see them confused, because I get confused when they put the posh on.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, it's both ways, I guess, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, so why do you think a word like that has managed to kind of stay with us, and yet, you know, if you say it's Scandinavian, I mean, how many centuries has that been?
Well, I mean, from about the 8th, 9th century AD, the Vikings were nobbling everybody up here, and probably there's a lot of Anglo-Saxon blood in us, but there's a lot more Viking in some of us. And goodness knows, let's keep it. I mean, you know, throw away the axe, but not the accent.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, excellent. So, how do you think? What do you think makes Burnley people kind of what they are? You know, people talk about Burnley in this area being kind of very friendly and people supportive of one another in terms of communities. What do you think creates that?
Well, all Lancashire folk are pretty friendly, and I think it comes from the mills. You know, if you had brother, sister, 15,000 cousins, all working in a mill, they all looked after each other. If somebody was sick or they hadn't much brass, they'd share it. And that's something that I don't think that's quite lost. I think we're all sort of community-minded if we really put our minds to it. You know, if you had a next-door neighbour and they were in bother, you'd help them. I doubt whether that would happen in London. And I hope that never changes up here.
No, I think you're right. I think there is something about that. So how would you... I mean, the communities have changed quite a lot over the years. And as you say, I think we managed to retain something of that. But how would you describe community?
I think it depends on where you live. I think in Lancashire, probably in Burnley in particular, Blackburn also, and Oswald Twistle, we all speak slightly different, and we've all got a heritage that we share. The thing is, we've got differences. You know, we can all sort of think where parents used to work, where grandparents used to work, and how happy it was, even though they'd no brass. And we still haven't got a great lot compared to some areas, have we? We're not all that rich.
Yeah.
But we've got richness in culture and the ability to laugh at ourselves. That's the thing. If I can laugh at myself, I feel free to laugh at you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not insulting you, because I'm doing it to myself.
Because you do it to yourself, absolutely. Yeah, I totally get that. It's about being able to just take the mick out of yourself and not take life too seriously, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, we all know how life can be very, very tough. Therefore, you need your friends, and you need your twang. You know, I am right fed up. Now that is a lot better than saying, "Oh dearie me, no, I ain't got no money."
Yeah.
I'm hard up because I'm no brass.
That's right. People identify with it
Yeah,
immediately.
of course they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. What other sayings do you like or are you familiar with that are local just to Burnley?
Yeah. There's one that one of my wife's uncles used to use. If somebody was just a little bit on the dim side and didn't react to things in a hurry, right? It's there to take cake. Now, I still don't know where it comes from, and I don't care. But if we're sort of sat at home and something comes on the television, it's a complete lunatic. We just look at each other and say, there to take cake. Or a gobbin.
Gobbin? Yeah. I don't know them two. Do you know any
No,
of them?
I've not.
No, I'm not. Cracking them.
I mean, that's what I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
You know, you lose that and everybody speaks the same and everybody's got the same language and they all know what they're doing.
So in some ways, when you write your book Lanky Twang, even though it's a bit of fun, it's almost a political statement.
Oh, it was fun, but at the same time, you haven't to lose it. You know, you get comedians in the music halls. It's no accident that 2/3 of them were from Lancashire. No accident. They start off by laughing at themselves. You know, like Frank Randall from Wigan area meets a chap in a pub and says, "What's up with me?" And the chap says, "I'm lonely." And he said, "Well, what do I have to drink?" He said, "Well, I'll have a double whiskey." He said, "Well, no wonder that's lonely. I'll sup a pint like the rest of us."
And I guess that tradition's carried on with Peter Kay and so on, hasn't it? I mean, you know, that when you look at it like that seems quite obvious.
Oh, it is obvious.
Yeah.
Humour hasn't really changed in our county. It hasn't.
Because it's all about the people and about their experiences.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, the fact is that you can wind yourself up. So if you can do that, you can wind anybody else up. And if they don't like it, well, tough.
Yeah. Brilliant. So what's our reaction to weather in this area?
Well, obviously, we put up with what we can, right? And if a wind's blowing, we say, hey, it's a right breeze, that'll go through you, not round you, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I think, it doesn't matter how windy it is, it doesn't matter whether snow's coming or not, the Lancashire humour came out when we were snowed in April. And they just said, well, it'll get right better by January.
And yeah, just about might do, yeah.
If we're lucky.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to speak to you about was the Pals, the Accrington Pals.
Right.
Looking to do a project because obviously it's a centenary in
Well, 70 years, what is it, 100 years?
100 years, yeah. I mean, of the actual day when they went over the top in 1916, wasn't it? 1st of July 1916. But obviously the First World War started in 14. Can you just give us kind of an overview about the Pals and what happened, how that started, and then how that might have changed the kind of history of the kind of military history, if you like?
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, when the war started in 1914, they were short of cannon fodder. That's what it was, really. And what happened was, every town joined up almost en masse. So all the Pals joined up from the various mills. So there were Pal regiments literally all over, particularly in the north of England, where you've got Bradford Pals, you've got Oswald Twistle Pals, you've got Leeds Pals. The Accrington one, particularly tragic, because right in the middle of the worst battle of the lot, they were pushed over the top en masse, and most of them were sort of killed within 20 minutes, and that knocked a great hole in Accrington. So Accrington Pals are famous because they lost so many young lads, and the generation disappeared almost. Now, in some places the battles weren't as bad, so there was a lot killed in Leeds with the Leeds Pals, but it all happened over 3 or 4 years, and only a few at once. Whereas, there were people all over Accrington that said, well, hardly anybody survived. And it was, I think it was ridiculous, because they just said, well, to gain 15 yards it'll cost us 5,000 lives. But that's okay if I'm a general with lots of braid, and I'm not in the middle of it. But if somebody says, well, there's a machine gun there, go and run into it, and if you don't, we'll shoot you, it really is it's a tragedy. No choice. No choice at all. And of all the wars before or since, that one was the worst. And of all the battles, the Accrington Pals was the worst. No soul.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think of, there's a lot said about Haig at that time that a lot of people don't think a lot of him, and history says different things about him. What's your view on what Haig
Well,
was
from a
doing?
military point of view, he got promotion because he could operate as a decent general. Where he failed was victory mattered more than anything else, and the number of casualties didn't bother him. Or if it bothered him, he override it. He didn't. He didn't look at the men. Now, to me, Haig may have been a general in the context of the war, but as a human being, looking at it 100 years on, I'm not happy.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And how do you think that? So you talked about all generation being wiped out in terms of Accrington. How do you think that affected the community of Accrington?
Well, if you took the situation now, take everybody in Burnley between 17 and 35, and suddenly, in the course of one day, you lose 80% of them. Now, there's a vacuum there that you can never fill. There are wives with kids and no money, to look after them. And where's the next generation coming from? Where are you going to get the next generation of mill workers? They're just not there. So the whole town's dead. Terrible.